I'm looking for a fix when I'm playing Animal Crossing. I don't mean to be crass, but I think that's part of the appeal. There's something fundamentally addictive and mobile game about the shape of a typical Animal Crossing game. They always politely ask us to come back tomorrow when there's more stuff to do. It's a series inherently withholding, thrifty with its often sparse content. It intends to have you wait until Christmas to open your presents. It's very interested in having you fiending for that next little burst of joy.
Welcome to Animal Crossing, the life game that's happening every minute of every day, whether you're playing or not.
For those unfamiliar, this tagline used in the marketing for the American release of the GameCube Animal Crossing pretty succinctly describes how these games work. They posit themselves as companion realities we can steal ourselves away into. Wednesday after school is a Wednesday evening in my little forest, and here I take on the role of a new neighbor in a sleepy village. FOMO is a fundamental motivator in Animal Crossing. Stores are closed depending on the time of day, certain events only happen on actual holidays, and the seasons loosely change in-game as they do on Earth. I first played this game in the fall of 2002, and it felt magical to watch the patterned earth and flat, symmetrical trees change in rhythm with the ones outside my bedroom window. I'd wake up, excited to see if the village shop had finally finished its remodel, or if the peaches had grown in. I'd bustle over to the Able Sisters to see what they had for sale that day. Different bugs and fish only come around when the weather's right, and it would be a small thrill when a special merchant made their rare appearance. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was preparing my young self for a life of scheduling serotonin hits in this methodical, adult fashion. It taught me to look forward to and wake up for the slight mundane differences of day-to-day life. It represents a strange crystallization of the mindfulness required to stay sane in laid-back suburbia. How odd to communicate the joy of financial freedom that comes from paying off debt or the excitement of clothes shopping to an 11-year-old. And being the lucky boy I was, I looked at the back of my guidebook at the full catalog for this game, mystified by the seemingly endless amounts of goodies and dreaming of the day I'd own each and every one. There's an innate desire I have to complete a video game, and I mean really complete it, to gobble up everything it has to offer. And this attitude bumps shoulders quite aggressively with Animal Crossing's carefree, never-ending nature. Creating a strong enough bond with villagers gives them a chance to gift you their picture, but this still is only a small chance, and true full completion to me requires a picture each from the hundreds of potential animal friends. And only luck and time will ever give you the chance to have them all. Part of this is the point, of course. Random generation plays a large role in letting each village feel like its own. And yet, on every new release, I still ache for a way to taste every bite. This gotta-catch-em-all mentality has been baked into me from a young age, and, well, it's hard to shake. I feel for designers who have to account for this instinct. I admire that Mario Kart World initially had no trackers on its map for the ludicrous amount of collectibles scattered throughout its open world. This seemed an unspoken but firm statement from the developers that every little thing wasn't supposed to be picked up. The joy should be from the doing, not from the completing. Well, I don't think I fundamentally agree with this in a lot of ways. They really shouldn't have trained me from birth to grab every stupid trinket they fill every stupid world with if they wanted me thinking otherwise, but it's a respectable position nonetheless, to want to steer players away from doing every last thing. And so true is it no fault of Animal Crossing's that full completion is rarely attainable, saved only for the cheaters and true mad obsessives. There's nothing inherently wrong with cheating in games like these, by the way. I think Pocket Camp's insurmountable peak might someday make me do just that, but just note that patience deeply rewards the true lesson that these experiences have to teach. And while I'd like to think of myself as a mad obsessive, it seems that an Animal Crossing only lasts me about a year. There are shades of Wonka's everlasting gobstopper in the promise of these games. Each new season and each new year offer another layer to reveal, something worth working towards. A candy so long-lasting that you could eat it forever, but I fear that even the best of these games eventually outstay their welcome. Too sweet a thing to suck on for too long. Inevitably, I realize I've not checked in on my town for a few weeks. I'll get a slight scolding from a neighbor, but soon it will have been months, and I'll log in trying to recreate the excitement that the familiar mundane once brought, and I'll be left with the nagging feeling that I'm working on a chore list, like I'm just going through the motions, playing at enjoying my other life out of duty. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but sometimes Animal Crossing just makes me tired, and all the stuff that used to make me happy about it just kind of end up making me sad. While the obvious answer then is to stop playing, you have to understand that at the same time, these are games that are hard to let go. Marred by learning the wrong lesson from Toy Story and an overactive imagination, I feel a true pang of wrongdoing when I think of all these little worlds I've left behind. It'll be half a year, and I'll remember my town again. Maybe there will have been some updates, and sure, my island might see a few more busy weeks of reinvigorated activity, but with a bit of guilt, eventually it seems these towns are designed to be thrown away. The excitement of the old coming again only when it's packaged as something new. Like some capricious prince, I abandon my tiny clockwork kingdoms one after the other. The last major Animal Crossing release was New Horizons for the Switch in March of 2020, and I'm hardly the first to note that its universal acclaim is due in no small part to that very release date. Desperate for company, it was nice to play pretend with my friends in a familiar, childlike place. Pretend does a lot of heavy lifting with Animal Crossing games. Engaging in make-believe is necessary to overlook some of its more obvious shortcomings. There is very little by way of interactivity with the objects you obtain, and if you really look at it too hard, there aren't even many meaningful ways to interact with the villagers you share your home with. During lockdown, a friend would frequently question the excitement that me and my roommate felt about acquiring the items in this game, seeming to not understand that their static nature was secondary to what they represented. Ozzy has a playground in his yard, and I understand that he plays in it without ever seeing him do it. Meringue may not ever be seen running her diner, but I know in my mind's eye that she does. No proof but belief needed. This is, of course, a bit hollow. I'm not entirely sure if the representational nature of Animal Crossing's make-believe play has legs in a modern age, especially now that I've given Pocket Camp its fair shake. And once again, I fear that to look at it too long is to see the strings. Despite this, though, it's through a careful consistency of place and clever real-time gameplay mechanics that the game successfully blurs those immutable things and more obviously basic tasks into something you can believe in, somewhere you can actually go. The illusion is one that settles in pretty wordlessly if you buy in, and I think that this is likely the series' greatest strength. Even just talking about it being a little real jumpstarts that pulse in the back of my brain that craves for my island to be built back into my daily life, but the impulse is short-lived. The illusion broke quickest for me with New Horizons. There's something unquestionably empty about the experience once the majority of the settling has been completed. Nothing has changed, of course, save for me. New Horizons is a new Animal Crossing game with new features and an audience that has far exceeded any of its predecessors, and it did so much for me when I needed it to. So I can't really view it with the critical eye that perhaps I should, but I unquestionably fell out of love with that game far sooner than I did with any of its predecessors. There is a 3.0 update to New Horizons that is either coming soon or already out, and I'll have essentially no choice but to check it out. I remain hopeful that the unnamed thing I can't find in New Horizons anymore is somehow waiting for me in this next expansion. But there's an amount of skepticism I can't help but feel. How odd, then, that our game today deserves more skepticism than any, and yet I wish to sanctify it above the rest. It's done what no other Animal Crossing game has done. It's made me want to stick around. And more importantly, it's made me take it easy. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp began its life in 2017 as a pay-to-play mobile game. I'm sure most everyone is familiar with the type, the kind where you don't have to pay microtransactions, but the wheels get greased a lot easier if you do. Let's examine that earlier allegory a little further. These kinds of games are at best an annoying trend, and at worst a more evil cigarette for children. There is something inherently distasteful to this kind of structure. So despite Pocket Camp releasing during that long stretch between New Leaf and New Horizons, I was never really tempted by it. I would be jealous when I'd see a screenshot for the game and briefly mistake it for New Horizons. The variety of item sets in Pocket Camp can't be overstated, and in the back of my mind I knew why. They were flashier and cuter and had more personality because they had to be enticing enough to make you spend your real-world actual money on them. Of course, that's kind of a damningly cynical read, and I guess if I fully believed it, I'd be a few steps away from saying that I wish that microtransactions found their way into the main games to better incentivize a unique and sprawling catalog. But really, I just wish that was incentivized to begin with. This is a bit of a moot point, though. I first experienced Pocket Camp through the release of Pocket Camp Complete, a version of the game that came out in December of 2024, removing all microtransactions and instead costing a decided amount up front. I purchased the game not too soon after. It was half off on the Apple Store, and $10 is worth even just a couple weekends of distraction. I think that my enjoyment of this game is partially informed by these middling expectations. When I first started playing, I was in my first real adult relationship in over a decade, the kind where you take turns staying over at each other's place on the weekends and everything. This was the most recent in a series of big changes that I've been undergoing. There's a vulnerability that I realize I have to expose in order to get to this mythical good future I can't help but hope for. One that can only be achieved through enough changes and enough choices. And sometimes I feel like I'm shedding skin in a way that could be concerning, but true, in reordering my routine with this new person with new needs and new ways, I found myself doing a whole lot of waiting. A lot more waiting than I had been used to. and how nice it was to always have a fresh pack of animal buddies to light up. I'm sure you're familiar with the cigarette break. 10 minutes where the only point is to not do anything else, and thank God I've been multiple years free from that particular curse, but the instinct for that ritual is still undeniable, and it seems that Pocket Camp is the most recent in a long line of pacifiers I soothe myself on. An anodyne far less caustic than nicotine or a meaningless scroll through endless feeds. Like most, I look for this kind of comfort when things change. And here, looking back at the time I've spent with Pocket Camp, I can't help but wonder if I would have had any lasting interest in this game if it wasn't filled with characters I grafted onto my psyche like so many maladaptive daydreams when I was a boy. Much is lost in translation with this version of the game. While it still runs in real time to some extent, these timers are broad, and events last for stretches of days. The snappy bug jokes are absent, nary a groan-inducing fish pun to be found. Where before your town would be populated by a few villagers chosen at random, now you have pretty unlimited access to the full roster. This is both pro and con. The con is that there is a less bespoke, personal feeling to the world presented in this game. The pro is that I get access to the full roster of villagers from Animal Crossing and can have my dream team with me whenever I want. Being incentivized to interact with and befriend the countless villagers had me discovering favorites I didn't even know I had. While different, there is an unmistakable freshness to this system. This first spring with Pocket Camp saw me in a dizzied state, each new month offering a jaw-dropping amount of things to buy, new little tableaus to make. There is, of course, something lost in not having your villagers adhere to a schedule. At your camp, they won't ever be sleeping or taking a day inside. No matter the hour, everyone is always engaged in some activity in Pocket Camp. This, in my opinion, actually seems to be a proper evolution of Animal Crossing. If the cost of having a more believable, complex, ticking little world is a scarcity of meaningful interactions and activities, then I think it's a cost too steep. The map structure of this game is incredibly rigid. Animal Crossing has this habit of stressing the consistency of space, leaving your island to travel to a friend's, or riding in a boat with Cap'n, or going to the city. Moving from place to place is always cumbersome, agonizingly long, and while I think it accomplishes the job clumsily, this heavy-handedness actually goes a long way in selling the illusion of these worlds. Unlike the main games, the map of Pocket Camp is not randomly generated or individualized in any meaningful way, nor is it loaded all at once. Instead, being multiple points of interest you can travel to instantaneously. The on-brand consistency of place is kept with the RV. Any outside location you travel to accounts for your vehicle, implying a constant drive to and fro. Screen transitions marked with a little car horn and animation. The camper is also parked on your primary campsite. The primary campsite is the largest space available to decorate with the furniture you accumulate, but I want to zoom in on this RV first as we really take this complete look at Pocket Camp Complete. Every single person who has played this game even a marginal amount has come to hate what the RV represents, which is to say the consistently baffling design decisions these games insist on. Around your RV are strange, seemingly arbitrary chunks of your already small campsite where you can place no items. This dead zone has rendered many of the layouts I envisioned in my head impossible to realize. And yet, I find myself wanting to say, in defense of this annoying choice, that creativity is sharpened and made more powerful by limitations, arbitrary or otherwise. I want to defend these inane decisions because I think I'm in love with Pocket Camp. I like that the models are old, some of them looking like they've been lifted from the old classics without touch-up. There is a messy aesthetic in this game that makes it feel scrappy. Compared to its tidy, cozy core millennial bait younger brother, I find myself wanting to love this game because it's kinda trashy. When digging for info on this game, I found out that its innocuous leaf tokens were once portrayed as stacks of crisp green dollar bills, but only back when you had to pay real money for them. How ghastly. How tacky. Pocket Camp smells faintly of cigarettes and has a tattoo that it probably regrets but wears proudly anyways. Little contrarian I am, how can I not fall in love with the one I'm not supposed to? Your camper, like most everything else, can be customized to your liking, inside and out. But your liking is wrong if you don't choose the cat bus, a clear superior to any other. You change its look at the mechanics, OK Motors, where you can also play a slot machine that rewards you with bottle caps, which can then be traded for most any of the game's resources. The game overwhelms you at first with these: wood, steel, wool, elegant essence, sporty essence, friend powder, sparkle stones, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, don't worry about it. You have enough. They don't really matter, and if you ever run out, you can always play a few rounds of predictable slots to get enough of anything for whatever you want. Seriously, these disparate ingredients are holdovers from the pay-to-play era of this game. They add truly no complexity, and once you have reached the peak of this game's post-game, you will be trading them away like they are worth nothing, because that is their worth. In addition to these, however, you can also trade bottle caps for some high-ticket items, including a gold statue that can be obtained here, and only here, for 10,000 caps. Now, of course, the beast known as completion rears its ugly head. The word complete did a lot of work in piquing my interest for this game. And if we're going to talk about the sheer audacity of its catalog, then I must reveal the lengths I'm willing to go for meaningless digital prizes. The slots are predictable if you're willing to learn them. They run on the same cycle without fail. You can win 5 caps per successful play, with 30 and 50 caps being rewarded randomly from faster, more difficult spins. As I'm sure you're realizing, this means that acquiring the full 17,000 required for every catalog item unique to this place requires playing the slot machine what feels like a Sisyphean amount of times. It's easy though. You spam click the first slot to land on Isabel. As soon as you see Tom Nook's yellow, you click for Izzy on the second, and click when you see red on the third. Bingo bango, babes. Once you've mastered this, all it really asks is a willingness to spend hours doing what amounts to menial grunt work over the course of months to finally have enough bottle caps to buy a piece of furniture you will likely never have a use for, all so that this section of my catalog is marked in all gold for complete. And I'll do it too. I've done worse. The Binding of Isaac is a notoriously brutal video game that requires a self-flagellating spirit to see its hundreds of hours through to full completion, but I did it there with an almost perverse sense of duty. Being a little boy who always seeks penance, so too do I self-flagellate here with something that at least has a more soft beveled edge. As spring begins to turn into summer, I start to realize that there is something off-putting about the cloying sweetness that my companions coat me in. I'm liked by them in a way that feels plastic. Still openly operating on the skeleton of mobile game design, this is offset by their love for me being the most savory treat in the world, a number that goes up. That's the core of it, if we want to be blunt. The number goes up, and that's motivation enough. I can play pretend that Lucky and I are the bellhops at a haunted hotel, but I don't talk to him as we gather materials around the world. His saccharine dialogue might break the illusion, and I'm realizing that to be wanted and liked in the way that the animals here want and like me makes me feel perverse. It makes me want to leave. I don't want to be loved like that, and so more and more, in order to best utilize these props as the little people dolls I want them to be, I stop talking to them. While I think that having the option to have an animal buddy follow you is brilliant, and the main games desperately need an equivalent, I often do my chores alone. Solitude. And so soon another August rolls around and I find myself again single, my relationship left behind. For all my talk of change, this ending is found with the same kind of finality I tend to use in these situations. While I remain firm in my course, I can't help but notice that this ending happens almost exactly a year after I had another core relationship that had to end, lest the whole of my heart fall into its event horizon. I try and use this world as a salve to ease the aching of the dread tulpa that the death of that old friendship spawned in me. Once born, this is a thing hard to eject, made to loom so much larger because the meat being used to make up its shape is none but my own. I'd like to think that the trick with this kind of mental monster is to not feed it, so I take another dose of my little pocket anodyne. The number going up isn't the only reason for friendship in this world. No, they do of course have things to give you. Between levels 13 and 15, all 407 of the campers in this game offer recipes to create a broad spectrum of items. These are informed by their personalities, something now not just determined by archetype, but also by a sort of elemental type, the various kinds of essences that each animal can be, another subcategory to sort these transactional relationships into. At level 20, each friend offers you their final substantial reward, their picture. Leveling from here on never gives more than sparkle stones and materials, paltry stuff hardly worth noticing. So much like in games like Stardew Valley, the abstraction of raising your friendship with everyone results in slowly unlocking the ability to not have to talk to anyone you don't want to, ever again. And so another end goal is set in my sights. Once every animal is raised to level 20, I will have all of those coveted pictures, and in doing so fulfill an old desire I once thought impossible. This is no small feat. Friendship can only be raised by fulfilling requests or giving treats, and while the first few months might lead you to believe otherwise, at a certain point the game slowly turns the nozzle on both leaf tokens and treats to a small trickle. Every 3 real-world hours, 4 animals will visit the 4 campsites around the map, having 3 requests for any of the various critters or fruit you can find in the wild. This is a slow path towards raising levels, and I'm sure if you have a certain neurotype, you felt a pang of fear pierce upwards from deep within your belly once you saw the shape of it. The most optimal way to raise everyone to 20 is to fulfill every request you can, every 3 hours, to infinity. This almost sickening cadence is amplified by Gulliver's ships, the main way you receive treats, taking 2 to 6 hours to finish their voyages. More than any other Animal Crossing game, I have found myself deeply incentivized to shape my own life around its various timers. To catch a bug or a fish isn't a zen exercise, it's a small drop in a fathomless bucket. I weigh the pros and cons of staying up a few more hours to send Gulliver out on another journey while I sleep, finding the most optimal path around the annoyances of reality to rush towards my distant goal. More and more, this game feels exactly like that oversized jawbreaker. The kind you have to lick until your tongue bleeds, spending weeks slowly working down its chalky sweetness with your spit so that you can finally have the pure, blissful satisfaction of not having to do it anymore. Before I leave to go spend time at a friend's house, I make sure to tend to my timers. Every ship sent out with Gulliver and every request filled is another little turn of the gears, a small step forward towards that unreachable goal. This is the most appealing part of all, hauling my self-imposed burden while being able to see the looming peak of this game's completion from so far away. One has to imagine him happy. I check into this world as I stave off work that I've long since stopped loving. It's a comfortable, stable job that seems to be soul poison. Its flexibility allowed me to luxuriate my schedule as much as I wished. And to be honest, getting to use Pocket Camp as Taskmaster helped me add routine into a life that is ever in need more of its comforting structure. Sometimes, in my more manic moments, I think that once the perfect routine is found, the world might split open like a puzzle solved. Once the perfect everyday is found, the good future might spill out and take us all away into its warm light. The months are marked in events, a constant way to idle away my time and keep a steady hand ever turning the wheel. Fishing tourneys, scavenger hunts, garden competitions, all one after the other. July was marked by time in a pastel dream with pink-hued skies and lazy, droning melodies. November, a vision of starry dreamland. I didn't fancy myself a fan of tacky Halloween, but October has me learning otherwise. I play it straight with a graveyard bash. Each month offers a selection of featured items that tend to match the sets given out with that month's events. But during this time, you can also peer into every set from every event that has ever taken place during that month. In researching the best way to approach my greedy goal, I found that Pocket Camp's events will run on a 4-year cycle. Any item not made available through those events can be crafted in this monthly tab. So I'm looking at least 4 years for that goal. 4 years is somehow both an unimaginably long time and as fleeting as a spring breeze. It seems that comparing myself to the me of 4 years ago, you could change a few proper nouns and maybe alter the lighting and hues a smidge, but my life would look essentially unchanged from the outside. The more it changes, the more it stays, you know. I can feel the tough gray fibers stretching themselves around my brain as I accept that these 4 years are the minimum amount of time it will take to complete one small leg of my grim march. Falling into this realization actually removed a significant amount of weight from my shoulders. In the more ravenous early months, I would try to buy out every section of these seasonal stores that I possibly could. The addictive substance they sprinkled into this game during its skeevy old life is still there, and while less potent, it is undeniable. I was damning the game for not letting me spend more of my real, actual money on it. I mentioned that leaf tokens eventually fall to a trickle, and comparing the late game to the early game, it certainly is true. But the amount you are rewarded by participating in the monthly events more than allow for a ludicrous amount of purchases. Even though I'm at the point of rarely leveling up, one of the few other ways to get leaf tokens, I know that once February rolls around again, my campaign of wild purchasing last year will allow me to spend a few more months having nothing to really buy. My wealth can stockpile once more. While the various terrains that shake up your campsite's look are quite expensive, someday I won't have any more to look forward to buying. I realize that I'm treating this game like some capitalistic campaign of total domination, instead of the little toy kingdom that I'm supposed to be prince of. So in September, I realized that I've once again spoiled the fun and have to change my mind a little bit. I should have seen it coming. It was obsessive orchard wealth in the other games. It would make sense that this evil impulse in me would only be more indulged with this version. But alas, if nothing else, what a mirror to hold up to myself. What a greedy little gobbler I've been. Unrelated, but certainly a color worth noting in this scene, is that I quit my job. The good future seemed to necessitate it. My worth and self-respect seemed to necessitate it, and what it gave couldn't ever possibly be worth what it took. And this seems almost a move of genuine mania. All these big changes happening back to back. Single and unemployed, but luck favors the bold, and I can be bold if nothing else. In a desperate bid to find another route, I make my first video for all of you. I know it's trite to say this kind of thing, so forgive me, but I didn't expect it to reach as many people as it did. And as that happened, it felt like a genuine process was occurring to me. Suddenly, and without warning, I find myself in a brand new world. An option previously grayed out on my menu, clickable in full color. It made my head hot, and it felt like static could pop out of my fingers. I spent the better part of my 20s burning out every joy receptor I could, but miracle of a new beginning, they seem to be working just fine now. I won't damn fate, and so for now a video maker I shall be. By the way, there's something else that Pocket Camp does for me, and I think it's hard to overstate this part. I'm sure you know this already, but the phone is a truly wretched place to be anymore. I shift rapidly between the same 3 apps hoping for some itch to be scratched, but this is the strategy of the insane. You can't scratch an itch with a tool that's made to make you feel itchy. And maybe it's a damning thing to say, but at least Pocket Camp is better than scrolling on Tumblr or Reddit. It is and it should be. Most things are better than being on Twitter, and yet the impulse still persists. I place stickers of characters I like on my phone case because at the end of the day, what am I really doing on social media besides scrolling, hoping to stumble across a picture of Bowser? And I hope a little sticker of him might sate the urge. Obviously it doesn't fully, but there's something in the placing of them as ritual that does the trick instead. Pocket Camp 2 is like a little dam standing between me and doom-scrolling oblivion. So like a little Tamagotchi, I have a little world to take care of. I can take a break in my pocket world, with every little task ticking away orderly, with my special chosen pals sitting in my perfectly curated little dioramas, a place for everything and everything in its place. A dreary bedtime story if you want to read it that way, one that centers me and my desires in such a singular way, but still, it beats scrolling on my phone, and at least it feels like I'm doing something. At least I'm not waiting at a table alone, or at least I'm not sifting through endless legal documents, or at least I'm not looking for love exactly where it isn't, and at least I'm not smoking a cigarette, and at least this time it doesn't really seem like it's hurting me. I've lived alone for the better part of 4 years, and now as the calendar stoically marches into winter, I share my home again. Necessity brought this change, of course. I would be a fool to not recognize the financial incentive of splitting bills with other people, but still, the pieces click together so neatly. This is good for someone like me. It kind of has to be. I fear that I enjoy going slightly sour in the miasma of isolation, but home now means other people again, and I think I like it. It could be an awful thing to think of the world like I think of my camp, as having a perfect shape that can be reached through order and ritual, and it's true that changing seems to mainly involve everything staying agonizingly the same. Speaking of, once I realized that I wanted to make a video on this game, that old shadow fell over my approach. Even with understanding that there is so much time between me and completion, I want to get a good grade in Animal Crossing with all of you. Somehow I convince myself that if I get everything done that I possibly can before some arbitrary deadline, this whole thing will mean more for both of us. There is a section in the catalog for amenities, strange upgradable structures that can only be placed in one of 2 spots on your campsite. They seem to be a vestigial holdover from another era of this game, and they take an inordinately long time to craft, but despite no interest in them, I make one of each, and another deed is done, and I feel like a kid showing you their doodle, or a dog bringing you a toy. Didn't I do good? Aren't I a good boy? Is this what either of us want? I realized mid-October that if I sharpen my focus and stay completely on top of my little timers, I will easily be able to get every villager's portrait by Christmas. Rarely with these type of long-term achievements do I feel the satisfaction I think I will, and this has never been more true than here. By sectioning off the villagers I was raising to 20 with rotating spots in my cabin, I kind of damned myself. I accidentally created quite a solemn picture of a recital being more and more dwindlingly attended. Slowly, I run out of hip villagers to give lollipops to, and another slot in my cabin goes empty until eventually there's no one left. I record myself holding a pretend camcorder trained on an empty theater. I mean, what a clown. My hastiness didn't change this inevitable outcome. I was always going to get there, but instead of savoring the process, I turned it into a knot to untangle and dressed it in the saddest way I could. As always, I end up scratching the itch hard enough that I break skin, an irritating scab where there should be satisfaction. I save every treat I obtain through November and December, stockpiling them for Christmas Day so I can go on a mad giving spree. But could you believe that a month's worth of treats is only worth a few levels at this point in the game? It was a nice release, undoubtedly still satisfying, but I'm realizing now that it will only be a matter of time before my first buddy reaches the maximum level of 99. But with my first conversation, I realized that I've missed the date. Toy Day in Animal Crossing is on Christmas Eve. All my meticulous planning and precise tasking, and I didn't get the day right. It's only funny. It's the only thing it could be. I only have 2 shirts left to buy off the Able sisters, and even though I check twice a day, the blue grid shirt and natty dress have yet to show up. I'm not going to be able to finish that part of the catalog for you. How could I? RNGesus is trying to yell it at me. I'm missing the point by wanting it all right now. There's always next year. And the year after that. And it gets worse. There is a subsection of this game called the Happy Home Academy, where you decorate predetermined rooms with the items you've obtained. This is really just a formality, a catalog check in disguise, and while there are a huge amount of initial classes, the diligent player like me will see them done quite quickly. And with their completion, the game's final, ear-splitting joke. The only way to get the recipes for the golden furniture is through leveling up in the HHA. And leveling up on the monthly classes to get the final golden items will, take roughly 57 years. Thanks, Reddit. I might take care of myself now, but the way I've lived, yeah, no, I'll be dead. I won't even be able to complete this damn game if I wanted to without cheating. Can you believe that? There were apparently fortune cookie classes for the HHA that gave you a ton of academy levels in the base game, but I guess they just got dropped in translation. I've seen multiple posts from people who have emailed Nintendo about this oversight, but since this game isn't being developed anymore, it seems like this is probably just fate. The peak is even higher than I could have ever believed. It couldn't be more obvious that the point is not to complete this one. I've lost the animal forest for the damn animal trees. So, robbed of completion, I'm trying to plumb the depths of my heart to find proof that my time in this game means something. But I think this is the barrier between me and the lesson here. This is only a way to measure time and an exercise in the art of letting go. There's only so many sets you can save and only so many things you can do. I've had to crack my head against this game over and over to see the point, and the point is that it probably doesn't matter at all. I can't want for it. It's just a silly phone game that I happen to have spent a lot of my time with, and it probably has as much of a point as I have in living my simple little real life. Here's the point. The first of every month is always a time to celebrate. My best friend and I get to pick our favorites of the new sets and talk through how we'll decorate this month. I get to put new outfits on my little stuffed animals and carve another little chunk out, put another check mark on the day so I know it's gone by. This game has helped me remember why I even care about holidays, not for any secret, intrinsic magic that they have, but how important they are as little lanterns we light along the way to see how far we've come. Also, blessing of determination, I've unlocked the ability to not have to play it very much anymore. Checking in once a day does more than enough to finish every seasonal event. I don't have to play Merchant with Gulliver or even fulfill requests anymore if I don't want to. The game goes out of its way to alleviate any guilt you might feel about leaving your visitors hanging by having your caretaker handle it. This game is so much more fun when you take it easy. I don't have to grow all these stupid tulips right now. I don't want to. I'll do it next year, or maybe the year after. Or maybe I won't do it at all. It's fine. It's okay. God, this game is so much more fun when you take it easy. I wish I could shake old past me by the shoulders. Don't go so fast. Don't worry about it, and don't work too hard. The time is gonna pass anyways, and you've gotta stop and smell the roses. So now I get to experience Pocket Camp in what I think is the developer's intended way, in the background while watching a reality TV show, without caring all that much about staying on task. There's a faint idea that I can raise every villager's friendship to max, and so max my own level out as well, but, I don't know, maybe. I think I'd rather it be a happy surprise in 10 years if I choose to keep playing instead of some yoke I strap onto my back as I stoically march into the future. There actually probably isn't much of a difference between those two things besides phrasing, so I suppose instead of thinking about it too hard, I'll just keep repeating my new mantra. The doing is more joyful than the completing, and the process is the point. The doing is more joyful than the completing, and the process is the point. As for the future of Animal Crossing, I hope they continue to experiment. I don't think this is the perfect shape of a new Animal Crossing game, but I think it innovates in a way that the series desperately needs. As for this one, I don't know. I like it. I think I could probably see myself playing it forever. I've got a few spare minutes every once in a while. I like it. Pocket Camp good. Woo-wee! Here we are at the end of yet another Snooze Original. For my attention-addled, I'm going to put a little game of I Love Hugh to the side here. You're welcome. And also, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this one. You guys better watch out. If you keep giving me all this positive reinforcement, I might never stop talking. Also, let's just go ahead and say it. If you want to help me make this the full-time gig I'd like it to be, I really would appreciate it if you liked this video and thought about subscribing. I've got about 5 too many video ideas brewing in the old noggin, and I need all the support I can get to make them a reality. This is still a young channel, and I know the road is long, so for those whose support I already have, please know how much I appreciate it. While we're doling out thanks, I can't thank my best friend Emily enough for her support. She proofreads every script and gives every video a watch to make sure I'm not embarrassing myself, and I don't know if I'd have the nards to keep this up if not for her. She provided a ton of extra Pocket Camp footage as well. Thanks to both her and my friend Daniel for helping me grab footage from New Horizons. It was actually really fun to poke around in that game again. Maybe we make a video for the 3.0 update? Oh, I don't know. This was the hardest video to push out so far. Whenever I draw, I tend to actually make whatever expression I'm trying to illustrate, and it seems the same is true with video making. This one left me kinda blue. But like, you know, in a good way. Like a sore muscle or a bruise. I reckon there's probably a lot of you who understand what I'm talking about. I feel like Animal Crossing has to unfairly wear the weight of seasonal depression with me, but, you know, I suppose that's kind of just the cost of being a life sim, huh? I still plan on releasing these larger videos every month or so, but keep your eyes peeled for a few shorties in the next little bit. I've got a couple ideas. I suppose that's all for the day, though. So, until the next yap, snooze out!
Why am I always the one organizing the treasure hunt? Maybe I'd like to sit around blasting techno music all day.
So do you want to swap fossils with me later, or